It's been about 9 or 10 days now. 8, if you want to say it culminated with the beginning of the World Series. Anybody I talk about, anybody I hype up that's a little outside of what the masses think, I tend to jinx them. Well, tonight, hopefully, I don't jinx anyone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Answers by Guess. What up there, Guess?
It's been a rough go with the mouth.
Bro, yeah, please stop jinxing these guys, man.
A rough go with the mouth. Last Thursday's game, a few guys last Sunday. I didn't talk about the Dodgers until they were up 3-0. Just saying, I hope that they get the sweep. I don't want to give the Yankees an inch. They gave them an inch, and it took a hell of a fifth inning.
Bro, it was horrible.
I didn't even watch. I had it on. I laid down. I closed my eyes about the fourth inning. True story. And I was like, and I thought to myself, I had this feeling, right? I was like, I would just give up. They were down 5-0. I would just give up. Let's just prepare for Game 6. I would just give up. The team had no give up in them, and luckily they got a little help. And they were a fighting team. They showed me something that they haven't showed me in the playoffs. This decade-long run or so that they've been on with tons of World Series, the second championship, if you want to even count the first. I've never seen them like that before with fight. Usually they're little pretty LA boys, but they were playing gritty, and they got an inch and they took a mile. But I fourth inning, I was like, I would just give up if I was them. I laid down, and the fifth inning was starting. I laid down, I closed my eyes, and I didn't even look, but I had the TV on just loud enough, and I kept hearing the announcers just going wild. And I was like, I gotta look. I would peek. I was like, I gotta stop. And I did it throughout the rest of the game. And until that last strike, I know you don't want to hear about this, Rob, but until that last strike, I jumped up out of bed and I was like, yes. But we're talking about football here. But like CJ Stroud, how terrible could you be?
Dude, yeah, he was just off, man.
He
held the ball too long.
Touchdowns. He could have had 100 freaking yards.
He just kept on missing them.
It ruined my life probably all day Friday and today. Think about how pissed off I was. Like, if I just didn't say anything about Mechie. So tonight I'm very nervous because I got a lot of guys that I'm thinking and in situations and things that I'm thinking are a little, even for me, outside the norm. And I'm hoping that this jinx is over. I'm hoping tomorrow's a new week. Daylight savings, all that other nonsense, just throw it out of whack. Let's go.
I like it. All right, guys. Remember to always like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, X, and Spotify. Always look for those hashtags, Answers by Guess, and ABGFF. Bye weeks this week. Pittsburgh Steelers and the San Francisco 49ers. Anybody in your lineup, get them out. I'm going to jump right into the games, guys. I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
Dallas Cowboys at the Atlanta Falcons. Dallas, I don't know. They keep on shooting themselves in the foot. If you have CeeDee Lamb, I think that's the only player I think you can play on the Cowboys nowadays. Are you feeling the same way, or is this a matchup that they're going to have to put up offense again? I think that we keep on saying the same thing every week, and you expect something different to happen, and it doesn't. So talk about Dallas. And on the flip side, bro, Kirk Cousins is dealing, man. I think you called it the best. You said Drake London's not going to have a good game, but I think everybody else is. Everybody else had a good game. Drake London was mediocre. Talk about, am I starting everybody against this Dallas defense that just can't stop people, man?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know what game you were going to start with. I thought maybe it'd be a different one, but it's this one, and that's okay. I was just
first
wrong.
one to come up on my weather list.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But this one, is one where I keep trying to think, could this be one of those situations where Dallas surprises type of thing? And I just can't get myself to think that way. I think Atlanta's winning gritty, very under the radar, grittily. The Tampa game where they came back 500 plus yards, and since then it's just pull them out. And it's Dallas fumbling, bumbling into Atlanta. If this was in Dallas, maybe my gut would tell me a little differently, but I think you pretty much nailed it. Just sort of move right along. You played the main ones in this one. There's going to be no Zeke, so Dowdle he doesn't have diarrhea anymore, or whatever was wrong with him. So we'll see how he does against Atlanta. I'm playing against Dowdle. I just noticed in the ABG league, so I'm sure he'll do just fine. If you have to. But it's everybody. And I'm going to say, I would say, even if you had to, I doubt it, this people, Tolbert, and even if you're in a really deep league, Kevontae Turpin, who didn't have really much of all last week. But I think it's going to be all hands on deck in offensive bonanza. It's an easy one. Easy start. I was prepared for something different.
Sorry, man. Gotta throw the left and the right at you to keep you on your toes, bro.
You do. I never know what's coming, whether it's this or 3P or even when we do our little slideshow there. And this one's just an easy one. I talked myself into 3 minutes of nothingness. Play your guys. Play your guys.
Pretty much. Just a real quick question. Kyle Pitts, was it a touchdown or not a touchdown? The one that fumbled touchdown at the line. Even better question. Why doesn't every game have a down the line camera, a pylon?
Yeah. Sometimes I don't get
it. And sometimes you don't. Why wouldn't every game have that in all four corners?
I don't understand the inconsistency of that. I really don't. I really don't. They should have it down the line so you can see. And speaking of down the line stuff, I made the text in the AVG chat. Why do guys drop the ball at all? At all?
First touchdown, too. Why would you let go of that ball in the first place?
I don't. Any guy. I don't care if it's your 1,000th touchdown. Why? What is cool about dropping it? Because that's what it is. It's something they think they're cool. I'm like, I'm dropping the ball. There's nothing cool about it. Go into the end zone and then do something cool with the ball. Dropping the ball is not cool. Even if he was 10 yards into the end zone, right at the other end of the end zone, and he dropped the ball, that's equally as cool. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Young Wei Koo is going to make a couple big kicks in this one. He's been a little off the past few weeks. I think he's going to make a couple big ones.
All right, we're going to flip over here. Denver Broncos at the Baltimore Ravens. I see a lot of questions about Bo Nix. Do I start Bo Nix? Because, his legs are what's people are asking that question. Sutton seems to be the main target. Even Sutton got a throw in last week. It seems like, obviously, they were playing Carolina. It's not Carolina this week. But there's something that the Broncos are doing well, and I think it's the run game that's opening everything else up for them. Do we continue to see that against this Baltimore team that you said, I had a feeling – I said it on the Tuesday show with Answers with Guests, not this Tuesday, but the previous one. Baltimore is not going to win not going to lose anymore. Cleveland comes in. You had that feeling. I feel like Cleveland's going to somehow take this game. They do. How did the Baltimore Ravens come? Derrick Henry came back to life a little bit. Zay Flowers was the main one, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, that was about the last outlandish gut call that I've had that came through. So let's work with the Ravens here for another one, because this was the game that I thought you were going to start. You couldn't even plan this if we tried to. I just figured. I just had a feeling in my gut, like he's going to talk about, after me talking about the thing and jinxing people, we're going to talk about this game first. And it wasn't first, but it's second. Sorry, so here we are. Bo Nix, 3 out of the past 4 weeks, played 3 of the easiest teams in the NFL. He's looked great. Now he's going into Baltimore. Yes, their passing defense has been suspect. However, they dropped about 3 interceptions last week against Jameis Winston, right in their hands, dropped them. and they have been kicking themselves all week. They are angry. They are pissed. Broncos are having a tough time running the ball. Javonte couldn't even get going against the Panthers. They're going to get after Bo Nix in this one. I'm sitting Bo Nix everywhere. And I think that the Baltimore Ravens will score a defensive touchdown in this one. So if you have them on your team and you've been disappointed with what they've given you, or they're sitting on the waiver wire and you don't like your defense that much, I think this is a week where the Ravens defense shows up. They're at home after the debacle against Cleveland last week, where they had so many chances to win that game, even late. Interceptions, the ball in the sun that got dropped. They had a very hard week of practice, and they are determined to beat the poop out of the Broncos. The Broncos are coming in very, very pumped up, very, very confident. They just keep winning, and it's going to hit a brick wall. Baltimore, I mean, Vegas thinks it too, right? Yep. They're a lot smarter than we are. They get some stuff wrong, but when they do a game like this where teams won like 6 in a row and the team just lost to the Browns and they make it 9.5 points, they're trying to tell you something. Baltimore is going to do a beat down here. You will have some points from Sutton. You will have some points maybe from Franklin. I don't think Vele's playing. I think he's out again somehow. Maybe whatever. You're probably not playing him. Franklin Sutton would be my two guys that really mess with here. But they're going to be playing from behind. They're going to be looking to throw the ball. They'll have a little bit of success, but Bo Nix is going to make some mistakes. They're going to make sure he does not beat them on the ground. They will be more focused for this game on defense than they've been all season. And I think that the play of this game is the Baltimore Ravens defense is what I'm calling out, because they have been lackluster, very disappointing. They've been the, annual number one or top 3 defense that comes in the league that everybody drafts thinking they're going to be like they were last year. It happens every year. They don't play very well. They'll be focused for this one. They're going to win this game by double digits. I would take it if I was, betting aside in this game. I think the Broncos people are probably throwing money on the Broncos saying they're getting 10 points. They've been winning. The Baltimore just lost to the Browns. It's what they want you to think. In the Deontay Johnson trade, we didn't get to talk too much about it because I didn't do answers with guests on Tuesday. I think it hurts him fantasy-wise. He's not going to a team where he might be, but he's not the best. And he's definitely not the only. There's 4 other options there. If you don't even want to talk about Henry.
And they don't throw the ball.
They don't throw the ball that much.
That much.
But those 4 have been starting to heat up.
Yeah.
Andrews likely still getting his catches. He's still on the field almost every single play. They're running 2 tight ends. Bateman's been doing well. If you take the Sun pass out, Flowers. So he's just going to fit in, just be now one of 5 pass catchers on this team. And they run. It's going to be relatively tough to run against the Broncos defense, but they're going to cause a lot of turnovers. They're going to get a defensive touchdown. I'm calling it now. And this is just number 1 on what I got for you tonight. It's just a feeling I have. And I had this feeling, I think early in the week, I was like, they are not losing next game. They're going to put a hurting on somebody. It just happens to be the Broncos. I would sit Bo Nix.
All right. Moving on to the next one here. Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Division game, man. Dolphins kind of came back to life with Tua coming back. It still seemed off, though. I don't know if it's their defense or what's going on. Timing, obviously, is going to take time again to get Tua acclimated. But against the Buffalo Bills defense that played okay last week, but that really hasn't shown too much previously to that as far as even stopping the run or anything like that. Who are we thinking from the Dolphins as far as who should be a must start, I guess, anybody outside of the box? And then from the Buffalo Bills standpoint, it was a running game. It actually opened up Shakir and Coleman more now that Cooper's on the team. Cooper didn't get any love, but those guys were just eating. Is that going to be the same kind of continued what we see this week, or do Cooper have a bounce back game? I guess.
I'm just hoping Tua gets out of this game healthy because it seems like Buffalo's the team that always hurts him. Break his ribs, hurt his finger, concussion. It's always Buffalo for whatever reason, and you're going into Buffalo. So it's going to be hostile territory. Buffalo's on a roll. They're looking like one of, if not the best team in the league. This is the one where you play your top two Miami guys and probably Achane, and you go with Cook, and I would say all three plus the tight end for Buffalo. I mean, Keon Coleman's coming on. I think sooner or later, and it might not happen because we're finally seeing what I thought we'd see about 3 weeks ago. I thought we'd be at this point 3 weeks ago with Keon Coleman. It took him a little while. It took him Amari Cooper getting traded there for him to steal a little bit so he could get open. I think that's going to start to sway now. I think that teams are going to have to focus a little bit on Keon. So it's going to open up some things for Cooper. But all three are viable. Shakir being the third, Kincaid. Jonnu Smith took a dip, but he wasn't a zero. So worth a shot.
I'm going to have some flows, man. I'm putting Jonnu Smith as a replacement for Kittle this week. So
okay, I don't hate it. Don't hate it. I got a couple others on the show for you. I probably shouldn't say them, but this is what we do. But we'll get to them when we get to them. Yeah, you write them down. Get your phone. Unlock your phone. Unlock your phone. But I'm going with my guys here. I think Buffalo. I think this game you'll see a little more offense from the Dolphins. Shook a little rust off last week. I just want him to get out healthy because it's Buffalo that hurts him. It seems like every single time.
All right, next game here. New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers.
There's one.
So Derek Carr's back. How did that change the dynamic of this team as far as how the offense goes? Obviously, a Kamara is every play or every week starter just because of volume, but we saw okay parts from Rattler that got guys involved, but obviously not the greatest. What are we seeing as far as how it's going to change for this offense for the Saints? And on the flip side, Bryce Young didn't do great, but he didn't do horrible either. He actually kept them in the game. Sure. Coker is the biggest name that I'm seeing everywhere. Sure. I want you to ask, you know what? Is Coker a start against this New Orleans Saints defense that their offense hasn't been playing well, but with their offense playing well, can they step their game back up again?
Yeah, well, I'll just talk about Coker real quick because I was just looking for my five guys. Was he a five guy? Or did I just have Carolina receivers?
I think it was Carolina receivers.
And he was one of the names listed there. I kind of liked him coming out. I knew most of the people were on Xavier Legette. And I heard people pronounce his name Leggett. I like Legette better. It sounds sexy. So I'm going to keep calling him Legette, even if it's Leggett. Sorry, Xavier. Not like you're watching, but if you do, welcome. So I like Coker coming in as a rookie. And with Legette hurt and Deontay gone and Thielen not playing, he's pretty much their top option. So if Bryce Young can get him the ball, he's a great option this week because your first question was, Derek Carr, what does it do to the team or the offense? Well, it allows them to sustain drives. That's what it does because Rattler was terrible. It's 2 games in a row now. They take him out and they put Haener in and they move the ball way better. Like, I am not an NFL head coach. How the hell do I know that he's better than Rattler? Like, you still don't get it because I guarantee you if Carr was not coming back, Rattler would be starting. It's just like, hurt or not, they would just be like, oh, Rattler's got to
always play. Legs is what comes into the conversation, man.
It's just so ridiculous. Haener's way better. The team played better when he was in there. They had sustained drives, but whatever. They're going to be better with Carr. And I tell you the big play here. You ready? And I made the play myself. I'm going freaking crazy this week in the ABG League. I'm on a roll. I've won a bunch of games in a row, and I'm getting a little crazy this week because I got everybody on bye. I don't give a F. I'm playing Taysom Hill.
Ooh.
And I'm playing Taysom Hill in my tight end spot, moving Trey McBride to my flex just because he's a later start. And here's why I made the change. Carr's in, sustained drives. To get close, Rattler's not going to be running in. Carr's not going to be running in. They'll probably give it to Hill. Jamal Williams is going to be out.
Yep, doubtful.
Andre Miller's out. There's no backup for Alvin Kamara running against this terrible Carolina Panthers offense. Taysom Hill is yet to have one of his ridiculous Taysom Hill games yet this year. He's fully healthy, practicing full for the first time, I think, all season. I like Taysom Hill a lot, and I'm hoping this is number 2 that does not get jinxed. I think that with Carr back, Olave obviously, with no Shaheed, Bub Means went to the IR. So it's Shaheed, Tipton, Taysom Hill, Kamara, or not Shaheed, Olave, Tipton, Taysom Hill, Kamara, and yeah, I know Juwan Johnson's there, but we've seen the outliers of him, and we've also seen the majority of what he does every time. I got a feeling Taysom Hill is going to run wild in this one against the Panthers.
I'm glad that you mentioned Shaheed. I actually picked up Shaheed. He's supposed to be coming back next week. He should be coming off of IR. Something to pay attention to. He like hitting Shaheed deep. If you need a wide receiver, with so many wide receivers that are hurt out there, somebody you could put in an IR spot if you can get him this week that you can potentially start using for more of the end of the season.
And if you need a running back, Miles Sanders is obviously being showcased in a hopeful trade by the Tuesday deadline because they threw to him. He was on the field, seemed like half the time last week. He had like 7 catches. He's still got juice. They're trying to showcase him. So if he's still sitting out there, scoop him just in case. And even if they don't, maybe they trade Chuba.
I think it's going to be more Chuba because you have Brooks coming back pretty soon too, man.
And if they trade Chuba, and no matter what, I think Miles Sanders is their third down running back, or at least every other drive type of third down running back type guy.
I like it. All right, going on to the next one here. Las Vegas Raiders at the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think we really have to talk about a run game for either one of these, to be honest with you, but I guess if you had to start a runner from both teams, let us know who you're thinking about. From the Bengals side, Burrow hasn't looked the greatest. I've seen a lot of questions. Do I bench Burrow if you have a better option? If you have a better option, I'm potentially benching Burrow. This Las Vegas Raiders team, though, may not be the one to bench him against. On the flip side of things, Minshew's being Minshew. He can play here and there. Brock Bowers is a must start, obviously, in a tight end spot. Who else are we starting from this Raiders team to feel comfortable?
Well, the first question was about runners. The answer is Chase Brown because Zach Moss probably isn't playing. So Chase Brown's going to get, for the first time, really. Maybe it was one other time during the season, but he's going to be getting his first time really against a relatively easy matchup. I know they got a better than not advertised, but conceived defense for the Raiders. But Chase Brown, I think, is a great play in this one. I think this is a game the Bengals absolutely have to have. They haven't won a game at home yet. They've got to win this one against the lowly Raiders. So I think Chase Brown is a great play. And I actually picked him up in one league. I don't know why he was out there. I just noticed it this morning. I'm looking in the one league, and I'm like, wait, what? And I clicked on him, and it was like, I don't know, something blah, 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 blah. And I saw Zach Moss potentially not playing. I was like, oh, I'll pick you up.
Yeah.
That's a win. I don't remember who I dropped. It was just like, yes, just go, whoever you are.
I love it.
Yeah, because even if it just lasts this 1 week, I don't want my opponent grabbing him. So that was sort of a block. I don't know why he was dropped. I actually have to look back and see who the hell did that. Maybe they were high on Halloween candy or something. I have no idea. But Chase Brown, yeah. Chase, obviously, and especially in a game with likely no Higgins. Yeah. I said it last week, and I'm going back to the well. Eric All scores the touchdown. I'm going to say it was a week early last week.
The whole Higgins thing, I've been questioning. I've been talking to a couple buddies about it.
Trade.
It's like, it's not even the trade aspect. He signed on the, what's it called? Whatever, they tagged him, right? So he signed his tag. Is he almost like showcasing, like, hey, look, watch what I can do a couple games, or I'm gonna say a couple games. Hey, watch what I can do a couple games.
Right.
It just, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a player. I don't know what happens in practice, stuff like that. But you haven't seen anything that's really been out of the norm that has been an injury. Like, oh man, he looks like he got hurt, kind of deal. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
For the Raiders, Jacoby Myers, right?
He had a touchdown last week.
He's the number one. So Minshew's going to chuck it to him. We've been waiting for a Tucker blow up. Listen, I see a lot of people wanting to start the Bengals defense. They've been terrible this year. I drafted them just for their week 1 game against the Patriots, and that's documented on this show. I said the reason I drafted them is because they're playing the Patriots, and then I'm going to drop them and probably pick up Seattle because they're playing the Patriots week 2.
Yeah.
And they were terrible. They let Jacoby Brissett do whatever the hell he wanted against them. And from that point, at times, they've even been worse. So I'm not feeling it, the Bengals defense this week. I'm not. I think Minshew uplifts this team. Zamir White might play again. I know he's been terrible. But just giving a little bit of breather to Madison, and maybe he's back with a new strength. This was around the time of the year last year where Zamir White sort of came to fruition and became a name. So, I mean, sometimes history repeats itself like that. Sometimes these guys just find a certain time of the year that they just sort of click. So he's actually somebody, like, if you're in a league and there are, very thin running backs, and you've got this spot on your bench that you're sort of just picking up Joes and Schmoes, like, I would pick up Zamir White just in case. Now, I do think that the Raiders make a trade for a running back, and we'll get to him when we get to the game.
All right, going on to the next one here. Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. McConkey looking good, man. It seemed like Herbert was looking for him. Dobbins did okay. They actually threw the ball, which I was happy to see. Do we see more of that this week against a Cleveland Browns defense that played pretty good against the Ravens last week? They're finally starting to get a flow with Winston. I think they actually have hope again. That it seemed like they were pretty dry, but Chubb getting another week healthier. I actually benched Stroud and Dell. Probably shouldn't have benched Dell, but benched both those guys for Winston and McConkey actually for this game, because I feel like this could have potential of being a higher scoring game. Am I thinking crazy? Because technically these are pretty good defensive teams.
Yeah, I might have played Dell over McConkey, but it doesn't really matter, because here's the thing. The Cleveland defense showed last week that they're maybe not as, amazing as they were last year, but they're not as terrible as they were the first 7 weeks of the year. That was a product of the offense. And that was what I talked about last week when I said that I feel like Cleveland's going to beat Baltimore because their defense is going to rise up, because their offense is going to be better. The whole team's going to be uplifted. And, now they won their Super Bowl last week, and now they're back at home, and they're going against a defense that actually is a lot like last year's Cleveland team, sort of kind of out of nowhere, but no holds barred. They have the identity of their coach, pretty much, Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
This defense is like a top 3 defense very quietly, and nobody really is taking notice, mostly because the Chargers haven't really been world beaters, because they haven't been doing what you just said they did last week, which is throw the ball. Now, they weren't great at throwing the ball last week.
They were not, but they threw it.
They threw it. McConkey's stats look really good, at least as terrible as he's shown to be. Quentin Johnston's going to be back this week. Josh Palmer rose from the dead last week and made a couple big catches. Your boy, Diddley Disley, has been killing it for them at the tight end position. They're also getting Stone Smart back this week. You remember that name at tight end for the Chargers?
That name.
So he's going to be playing. So they've got an array of guys that they'll need to do sort of what they did last week and be able to do it probably with a little more ease. I know it's a tougher defense, but because there's more guys back that are healthier, they're going to have to throw the ball around because Winston's not going to take the air out of the ball. The Chargers, though, will probably not make the same mistakes the Ravens did last week. If he throws his typical Jameis ball, I don't see them dropping it. And this is a game where you probably got to ride the wave of Tillman. Judy, something happened with him this week. I don't know if it was he got hurt or if he got disciplined with the team. Something happened with Judy, but Elijah Moore finally woke from the dead. All it took was a quarterback change. So those three guys plus Njoku's healthy. You could be onto something that could be a little more offensive, but I think you still, even with Jameis there, have two teams that would prefer to run the ball
100%.
the majority of the time. But if either one of these teams gets up quick and early, first quarter double-digit points, then this game is going to be blown wide open, and then you're going to get what you sort of want, the shooting.
Somebody I'm paying attention to, guys, is Jerome Ford has been dropped in tons and tons of leagues. He's coming back healthy. He has no designation. Judy was a knee, by the way. But if you have space with running back as far as anywhere on your bench, I really think that Ford is somebody to pay attention to. Chubb and him are very, very similar, but we see the Browns play well with that type of running back. So if it's going to give Chubb a break, I think that Ford has still tons of value with that offense, now with Winston especially.
And at this stage, with Chubb coming back from his injury, him and Ford are probably closer in ability level than you would actually really think. I mean, you watch Chubb run. I'm doing a rewatch. I'm watching. He has no juice after. He can still pound through and muscle. He can get it, but it's a lot like Javonte Williams. Like, we sort of thought Javonte Williams was finally shaking off that injury rust. But then I watched him last week against Carolina. And it's like he can't hit that second level still. Mm-hmm. He's 2 years removed. And Chubb's injury was worse. Now, who's a better athlete? Probably Chubb. So even if he even things out a little, he's not quite the guy he was. So, yeah, Ford, pick him up. This is the time of year you got to start stashing as many little randos as you can, because you never know. Especially, but I'm fine with McConkey in this one. Let's see Dobbins get through another one. Might as well.
You're waiting for it.
And listen, I'm going to be fully transparent. One of my favorite pickups a few weeks ago was Kamani Vidal, and he has not looked good at all. He can't break through any tackles.
Yeah.
He's hitting one person, he's going down. He's getting like 2 yards of carry. And at this point, it's like, okay, Gus is probably coming back next week. So you might have missed your shot.
No, yeah, definitely.
Because if Gus comes back and he's healthy, maybe he's not up to form week 10, but by week 11, you might have missed your shot, Kimani. But and for the Browns, we mentioned all the guys.
All right, sorry, I'm computer glitch right here. All right, next one here. Washington Commanders at the New York Giants. What a way to end the game. Holy crap. Yeah. That Chicago player, I don't know how he's still on the team.
Yeah, before I'm going to cut you off. I've been talking about how good the Washington offensive line was. Without them, you see how many different sides of the field and different places. I mean, they just don't let anyone get through, even on a Hail Mary.
Dude, the thing that set it up, though, is the 15-yard catch for McLaurin, because no way he's throwing 75 yards, or I'm sorry, 65, whatever it was. He's not throwing that far. Yeah. But that 4-second, 15-yard catch made all the difference. But anyways,
you got the Noah Brown anytime TD.
You got the Noah Brown, yes. The excitement, I can imagine. I love it. Talk about the Commanders. Obviously, McLaurin. Are we comfortable playing against the Giants defense that, again, has been okay, but with no offense and not being able to score touchdowns? Is this a Commanders team that's just going to dominate in this game, or since it's a division game, do we actually see some back and forth action, and can players be startable from both sides? Tracy Huge last week, by the way. Yeah. Go on.
There's no domination. I think the Giants are going to win. The Giants, the number 3, the Giants, the last time they played, outplayed Washington. What they kick 7 field goals,
something like that. Ridiculous.
and they lost, right? It was something like that.
Yeah, at least 5.
Yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. I think the Giants now, neighbors, another game back. They finally are playing the best running back on their team because they weren't back then, even though I'd been telling everybody since the summer that Tracy was better than Singletary, but he's back from his fake concussion. His head didn't even hit the ground. Like, why take him out? I'm watching, looking close, slowing it down. It's like, yeah, nothing's wrong with him. He's in there. He's in the huddle. He's ready for a play. They blew the play dead. And they're like, oh, you have to come out. It's like somebody had money on it or something. Yeah. But I digress. But he's back. And Slayton has emerged. The neighbors being out allowed Slayton to emerge. He could be a trade target for people. So they got a trio of pass catchers now. Theo hasn't been great at tight end, but he is further along than he was the first 2 times these two played. Washington can get beat through the air. There's a line out there that I saw that I took. Daniel Jones over 1.5 touchdowns plus 190. I'm on it. He will get 2 or 3 in this one. I think the Giants win. They're also plus 4. I would take that. Washington should have lost that game last week.
Oh, yeah.
And the line is mirroring the fact that they didn't. And everybody's in love with Washington. What an amazing play. The first thing you said when you started talking about this game was about that play. Chicago outplayed them. It did take a drive down to the end of the game. Chicago outplayed them. The problem was Caleb Williams was the worst I've seen him be all year, worse than he was week 1. But Chicago outplayed them. And I think coming into New York after that, it's going to be a little bit of a hangover. And I think the Giants are ready for this one. The Giants know they should have beat them the first time they played. Giants win this game. And I like all 3 of the main pass catchers, as well as Tracy. And you got to play Terry McLaurin, of course, and Brian Robinson, Eckler, because they have the best offensive line in football. This one could be a little high scoring. Both decent enough defenses. I think the Giants actually have a better defense all around. And I think they get it done. You got to play Jaden Daniels, though.
I'm kind of leaning towards Ertz for some reason. I don't know what's in my head about Ertz. I think he had a couple targets that were in the end zone. If you're looking for a tight end, especially for Kittle being out or Freiermuth being out, Ertz might be somebody to look at. And I'm not going to lie to you. Theo Johnson's been getting some more targets as these games have been going. I don't think this is the week, but I think start paying attention. If you're tight end tight, it might be somebody to pay attention to going on.
And who's my least favorite team in football?
Giants.
Yeah, and I think they're going to win. I mean, I don't think much of
them. You see the shock in my face? I was like, oh!
Yeah. I don't think much of the Giants at all. I don't care much. It's a feeling I have, similar to how I felt last week about Cleveland and Baltimore. Right, but actually, even a little stronger. A little stronger. Yeah.
Yikes. All right, let's keep on rolling through these games. Last 1 o'clock game here. New England Patriots at the Tennessee Titans. Patriots won against the Jets, which the Jets just kept on shooting themselves in the foot last week. But anyways,
New York thing is a New York thing, but the week's over, and now we're starting a new week, which is why the Giants are going to win. I digress once more.
Drake May is going to play this game, was knocked out of the last game due to concussion. That changes the way he was running really well against the Jets. I think this could be another game that I would consider starting a Drake May in a position that if you're looking for a quarterback, this Tennessee defense has been pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but am I crazy for saying that? And then who's getting the ball if Drake May is throwing it? And then as far as Tennessee Titans, they got destroyed last week. Calvin Ridley showed life. Tyler Boyd banged up. I don't know who to play on this team. Spears is out. Pollard's going to play, but am I comfortable starting any Titans?
Yeah, it's interesting. I put in a waiver claim in the ABG League for the Titans because I wanted the Titans in this matchup because it was Jacoby Brissett, it looked like. Dropped them earlier once Drake May cleared. Changes everything. Now, the Titans defense has been kind of good, but I I talked about it. I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, Rob, and I was like, they've been kind of good, because they've been making mistakes elsewhere. And so the defensive stats for them don't look too bad. And that's exactly what happened last week with Detroit. Detroit had a terrible offensive game. What did Jared Goff have? 85 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Yep.
I mean, it was all special teams. It was defense. And it was just, yeah. And so they got blown out, but really, like, Detroit's offense didn't really do too much, but did they really need to do much? Even if all those things didn't go that way, would Tennessee have been able to stop Detroit? Probably not. And I think this Patriots team, they obviously do not compare to Detroit, but I think they're dangerous enough with Drake May that I'm decided to lay off the Titans defense. If the Titans had a better offense, then I would have been okay sticking with them. But their offense is just absolutely terrible. No Spears. Pollard might not even play, to be honest.
He's questionable.
Chestnut in there. And so it's Ridley, and Boyd is banged up. And so it's Ridley, Chig, and Chestnut, LLC, right? So it's kind of like I want to just stay away from them because Ridley's going to be Christian Gonzalez pretty much the whole afternoon. Is it going to be Will Levis? Is it going to be Mason Rudolph? Rudolph looked okay, but come on. And for the Patriots, I mean, it's Booty was the guy that was one of your ABG 3Ps. It was like, I feel like it. But things are going to change. Drake May's in. Will we see Hunter Henry? I think the Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas, even Booty, and even Stevenson, it's tougher than you think this game because the Titans defense is good. They mess up elsewhere and end up losing games. So if the Patriots offense does damage, it'll be a good thing, but it could be random other things. I'd stay away from as many parts of this game as I could. Unfortunately for me, in 2 leagues, I have to play Douglas in one and Henry in another. So I'm obviously dire need, okay with those two, and I'm fine with Booty and Stevenson if you don't have better options. And Ridley you play, and Pollard if he plays you play. But that's going to be risky with Pollard tomorrow.
I'm playing Ridley, man. I'm like, I have no other choice as a wide receiver 3 right now. I picked him up off of somebody had dropped him. Obviously, he wasn't playing well. I'm like, I had him in last week. I switched him out for Pearsall, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, I still lost. It was a very close. It would have been a closer game. I probably would have been more pissed, to be honest with you. But I kind of had the feeling. I'm like, Ridley could be that guy now that Hopkins isn't even an option anymore. So, all right, let's go on to the next one here. Chicago Bears at the Arizona Cardinals. You talked about the Bears game already. Caleb Williams did not have a good game, but the running situation still has me very confused. And I feel like it's obviously Roschon got the touchdown. Swift doesn't look the greatest. Khalil Herbert, I felt like got a couple touches as well. What are you thinking as far as what's going to happen in the run game, and who are we comfortable starting from a wide receiver standpoint? On the Arizona side, is it just the top 4? Are you going Murray, Connor, Trey McBride, and MHJ?
Well, as far as the Bears go, I said it. Caleb Williams, I think, was worse than he was in week 1 or even 2. It just looked so terribly bad. But a big part of that also had to deal with when I rewatched the game, I'm watching these veterans, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, just not following through on their routes, not giving their best effort to catch passes. It just looked like they sort of gave up throughout it, and I don't really understand why. We talked about them coming out of the bye thinking they were going to be a little bit stronger, and they looked worse than they did going into the bye. DJ Moore was one of my favorite plays last week. Dude didn't run through his routes. He wasn't running hard. He wasn't trying to catch passes that were thrown his way. It just looked like he just didn't care. And it was really weird. But it's possible something was going on with him that day that's not been documented. But he better get it together because Arizona is winning games randomly in the final moments, gutting them out. And this one's going to be a tough one for the Bears. Now, you had mentioned Khalil Herbert. He did not play last week. He was inactive. And I think that's because he's going to get traded. And I think he's going to get traded to the Raiders because I think they're going to trade the Raiders for an offensive lineman. Because what do the Bears need most? An offensive lineman. Yeah. So I sort of have that feeling.
Who the heck was that third guy that I was seeing? I felt like it was a small guy that I was seeing out there. But
Homer?
Oh, maybe it was Homer. Okay.
So I do think that's happening. So I don't think Herbert's going to be active this week. I don't think you'll see him be active until after the trade deadline, and he'll either be active for the Bears or another team. But they're keeping him healthy, and it seems like this is a few weeks that this has been happening, that they've sort of been making him inactive for no reason. Roschon came back, and they were like, okay, Roschon's a perfect goal line back, and that's what he does. And Swift can do everything else. We don't need Herbert. Let's get an offensive lineman. That's what I think is going to happen. We shall see. For this game, you play MHJ. You could play Wilson if you had to, obviously, McBride, Connor. And I'm going to the well one more time with DJ Moore. He looked absolutely beside himself last week. But I'm going to say sort of the same exact thing I said last week, that I absolutely love DJ Moore this week. They had to have rewatched what I watched 100 times more than I did. That would give him 200 times. And just said to him, what was your problem?
Yeah.
Tell us. Let's fix it. So Arizona, you could beat them. Yeah, you could beat them through the air. So I'm going to think DJ Moore gets fed early and often. I'm going to say it.
Fingers crossed. I need him. All right, go on to the next one here. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Philadelphia Eagles. Jacksonville was close, man, against Green Bay. They could have had that game, but everybody's hurt now. So ETN supposedly has a chance of coming back, but Bigsby's questionable as well. BTJ is questionable. Davis is questionable as well. Yeah. Kirk is out for the season now with a broken collarbone.
ETN's questionable.
Yeah, it's
Bigsby's questionable.
I could just keep on checking off the boxes here. It's like, come on, man. I guess Parker Washington has been questioned all over the place. Is he a main pickup this week and stuff like that? Let's talk about that situation. And then the Eagles looked pretty damn good last week. What do we think as far as how they are going to move forward as far as this offense? And are we comfortable starting everybody? Goddard, I believe, is back this week too, which does that make a difference?
Is he back?
I'll double check, but go ahead.
Either way, it's like I said a few weeks ago when Smith, I thought so. When Smith and Brown were back, I said all of you that rushed to pick up Goddard after his huge game, I said you missed it. He might have a decent game next week, but as soon as the other two come back, it's like, no. Two came back, it was nothing. Granted, halfway through the game, he did get hurt, so that didn't help matters, and it helped my call, but still, he's a distant third, if not fourth option. And I said a few weeks ago, I said I feel like this Eagles defense is going to start getting right, and they've just been getting better and better each week, and I think this is another one. Another one with Jacksonville, with everybody banged up. As good as their offense started to look over these past couple of weeks, I think Philly's going to put a hurting on them. I really think they do. I think the 4:00 window in this one is going to help. Jacksonville plays most of their games at 1. Philly plays most of their games at 1, but they're on the road in a 4:00 game. These fans are going to be 3 hours more drunk and ready to go. And their offensive weapons are down. And I don't know if you could trust BTJ. It's all they got. But Parker Washington I like, because he's going to fit into that Kirk role. He's going to be a little slot guy, catching a ton of passes. Evan Ingram. It'll be interesting to see if ETN actually does play. I know he's questionable, but I think he's a little more questionable still than Bigsby. If he does play, that hurts Bigsby, obviously. If he doesn't, I'm fine putting Bigsby out there against this Eagles team because he's shown that he can catch passes. They're using Dearness, which is gross, but they are. But I would not. I would not. I think Philly's going to smoke him in this one.
Somebody I'm playing in the DFS lineup is Strange. If you need a tight end filler, I think Strange. Obviously, my tight ends. I love going after tight ends. Strange, I think, can actually have some catches. He had some catches last week. That could be a filler in with if one of those guys are out.
Yeah.
All right. Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Detroit Lions had an amazing game, but they didn't have a great offensive game. Like you said, it was a lot of return yards. It was a lot of defense. Going up against a Green Bay team that has not gotten lucky, but has played well and has won games at the end of games to be able to put themselves in a position. This is a division game. Is it? I'm starting everybody, I think, in this game, right? I mean, the only thing that affects this game is that it's supposed to rain. How does that affect everything with the rain? But am I still starting everybody?
Yeah. How great is Malik Willis? I mean, I had said it. I know that he got a couple chances in Tennessee, but it was a bad team, bad situation. And he comes in, he's basically 3-0 for the Packers.
He is, man.
He's come into games down. He's started games, and he's just comes through. He runs the ball a little. He's dropping dimes on people. The big thing is what you wrote there at the bottom there, Rob. The rain. The rain, we always talk about, helps the wide receivers. However, in this one, Jared Goff is an indoor dome, preferably at home quarterback. I think this is going to hurt him, is what's going to hurt. Obviously, you got to play Montgomery. He scores a touchdown every single game. And you got to play Gibbs. Amon Ra didn't do much last week. Didn't have to. We've talked about it a few times. I really like him a lot this week. Khalif Raymond, I'm so surprised in the leagues I play in. Nobody's picked him up. A lot of people
all return yards, dude.
I know, but a lot of people box score chase and they just see these things. I mean, he had a receiving touchdown though. So it's like, why didn't you pick him up? There's another player out there that I think is going to have a little bit of success. That's Tim Patrick. But the rain, I feel like, is going to hurt Goff. And, of course, Laporta, you're going to play. For the Packers, you play your Reed, you play your Dobbs. Jacobs, if he plays, he's highly questionable going into this one.
It seems like Love is going to play, by the way.
Rob, I'm off my rocker. Not only do I think the Giants are going to win, but as a Packers fan, I surprisingly dislike one fellow very much. Could you think of the one guy that I kind of not dislike, but don't truly appreciate for the Packers offensively? Don't want to wait too long.
Yeah, I'm not sure, dude.
Christian Watson.
Oh, yeah.
He's an absolute Detroit Lion killer. Remember last year, Thanksgiving, that started the whole streak for the Packers.
Interesting.
Christian Watson, anytime touchdown. You take it. It's going to happen. He's going to beat whoever is guarding him. And it's going to happen early, and he's going to get it, and he's going to just have a game for himself. Now, the one thing I worry about is he's made of glass. His legs are not made of rubber. His legs are like made of dry spaghetti. One false twist of his legs, and that could be it of him for the game. So I'm hoping it's early. I'm saying it's early. I'm saying these jinxes are nonsense, and I'm calling that number 4 for the night. Christian Watson, anytime TD, he's going to be huge in this game for Green Bay. Jordan Love's playing. Jordan Love loves the deep ball, and he can throw it better than Willis. More accurately, Willis looking damn good, though. I have no lack of confidence. All these times the Love goes out and Willis comes in, I'm like, all right, let's do it.
We're good. We're good.
A lot of times people are like, oh, the backup's in. I'm like, yes, the backup's in.
It's in.
But Christian Watson, and I'm telling you, if you got him and you've been flipping between a couple of these guys or that guys, this is the week you put Christian Watson in. He's a lion slayer. He is. Go back and look at his game logs. And you don't have to look any further than last year on Thanksgiving. So let's do it. Christian Watson, big game.
All right, last of the 4:00 games here. Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. It feels like the Rams played so long ago, but it was a Puka Nacua show. You had mentioned McVay had just tricked the crap out of everybody, but Puka banged up on a midweek injury. That same knee, man. He looks like he's supposed to play. Is it all system go for all your Rams, including Stafford? Could he be a good fill-in this week for a quarterback position? On the flip side, it looks like DK is out. How does that affect now the Seattle Seahawks? Obviously, we saw it affect them big time last week. They really could have had no offense. This Ram defense isn't horrible. They're not the greatest, but they're against a Seattle offense that can't move the ball. Are we comfortable starting certain guys?
Yeah, well, the Rams, you named them. It's the top two. DeMarcus, if you have to. My boy D-Rob. Kyron scores a touchdown every week. If you want to go with the tight end, go with the tight end. I said in the beginning of the year, I'm not recommending them.
Yeah.
I won't even speak his name. I won't even speak his name. He's steady. You want to know what we always would talk about? I would say if you would get like 4 for 36, that would be good. That's Parkinson. I feel like this year with tight end, it's a little different. As bad as tight end we seem it's been, I feel like 4 for 36 isn't good enough anymore. I feel like this year it's like there's been pops. Now, yeah, we're coming fresh off of National Tight End Day last week, so maybe it's a little hot in our brain. But I feel like before then, even tight end has been a little sexier than it's been in the past. And I think I called that last year. I was like, I feel like next year is going to be a ton of tight ends. But whatever, I digress. Speaking of tight ends, Rob, you were wondering about a player. Well, I almost just was going to pick him up, and I really don't want to drop the guys I have. And if you pick them up and you screw me, give me one of those.
Yeah, don't you dare do that.
I mentioned his name earlier in the year. He was a 5-guy for your eye. Mr. A.J. Barner for the Seahawks. Noah Fant is out. DK Metcalf is out. The Rams are going to score a ton of points. Seattle's not going to be able to stop the Rams. The offense, when those two guys are in there, Matt Stafford, love them this week, they're going to be fine. This is the same thing as last year. Everybody gets in, everybody gets healthy. They go on their runs. They showed it last week. Seattle's going to have to keep up. They don't have DK. They don't have Noah Fant. A.J. Barner is your tight end, waiver wire gold mine of the week. Just look at Noah Fant's stats. Geno has been feeding him. And while he's been feeding him, A.J. Barner has still been getting about 2 for 30 every week, 2 for 25, if you want to shortchange it, I think. And now he's the starter. I think you could just look at what Fant's been getting. And also, Fant has 0 touchdowns this year. A.J. Barner has 1. And he's the backup. And he plays probably about 20% of the snaps. Well, now he's playing as the starter. He is your tight end gold mine. If you have a bye week, fill in George Kittle owners. If you're out there, he's definitely out there. That's number 5 for me, Rob. Let's not jinx it. It's A.J. Barner time. We talked about him. He's like a mini Gronk out there. I said it a few weeks ago. He's a rookie coming in. Where did he go to school? Michigan, I think. Michigan. I'm almost positive. He's just a stud, and I think Noah Fant will not get his job back. They go on bye week 10.
Ooh.
I think that Barner has a good enough game this week. I think Noah Fant is not back week 11, and I think when he is back week 12, A.J. Barner is the starter for the Seahawks. Let's see it. Let's do it.
All right, Sunday Night Football, Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, big news. Anthony Richardson, 4th overall pick benched for Flacco, was tired during the game and asked to come out.
I get tired in his games too.
Yeah, obviously when he's on the field, the offense doesn't go. It's Jonathan Taylor and pretty much him. Just I hate to say, I mean, Downs had a good game, but are we more comfortable now with Flacco with your wide receivers and everybody else in the game compared to just Jonathan Taylor when Anthony Richardson's in there? And on the flip side, the Vikings kind of came back to life as far as or down to earth. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Against the Rams team that kind of shocked them. Their defense is supposed to be top notch. Didn't look that way in that game. Is it all systems go though from the Vikings perspective? And who should we be avoiding with now Hawk being involved? Where does that take away from?
Yeah, I called that kind of. I think it was Chris Raja, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sorry if I'm not. Yes. Okay. So who's going to win the game? In one of the posts, I was like, yeah, I think I would take the Rams. Kind of had a feeling with all the weapons back, and I think they're good to go. I think the Vikings sooner or later. I mean, it was ever since that Green Bay one. I know they sort of took it off, allowed Green Bay to come back because they were up by so much. But ever since then, it's been sort of like, even against the Jets, like the Jets almost came back and beat them if Mike Williams could catch a ball.
Yeah.
So it was going to happen, and it was just a perfect storm. This one. This one could be tricky because Joe Flacco, I'm so glad he's starting. You got to play downs. You got to get Pittman back in your lineup. Pierce, I guess, as well, if you have to. I don't love the play, but and it just makes Jonathan Taylor better as well for you. As far as the Vikings, I would take a shot, I suppose, because the Colts defense, especially over middle, is not great with Hawkinson. He's going to be rusty, you would think. But I don't think it takes too much away from Addison and Jefferson. I think it would take away from the few that Naylor's been getting here and there, a few that maybe get dumped off to Aaron Jones here or there. So I think I'm just playing my main guys. If I have to, like if you were to say Hawkinson or AJ Barner, I might go AJ Barner. I'm going to be honest with you, just because it's his first game back. Hawkinson's playing with Addison and with Jones, who's been killing it, and Jefferson, and it's just like their defense is probably good enough, but it's a night game. That one's close, very close. But people are itching to get Hawkinson in there, and I'm not going to tell you no. You've been holding them all year.
I benched Schultz this week. I had to do with the Jets a little bit as well, but for Hawk, and I'm kind of hoping that I can see if they get in the red zone, him being the back of the end zone look.
Yeah.
More than even Jefferson. So.
And they probably will, if they're taking him off the field every once in a while, they're definitely putting him in when they get in the red zone, or at least inside the 10. So.
Yes, sir. All right, let's go on to the last game so we can get to all those questions. I love seeing all these questions and comments.
Yeah, and I just want to make it. I say we answer these people's questions, then we go to the ones from.
You're 100% correct, brother. Yeah. All right, last one here. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Kansas City Chiefs. Looks like it's going to be another rainy game. Bucks offense was Bucky Irving. I felt like, I mean, Cade Otton and Bucky Irving was the main choices. Not too much more that I saw, at least from my perspective. What did you see on the Bucks offense, and who will be comfortable playing? On the flip side, it was Mahomes, Hunt, Kelsey, and I guess Worthy, which I guess is the top four. Hopkins didn't do that much. Is this a Hopkins game to be able to come back now on prime time to be able to showcase, hey, look what Hopkins can still do?
Now, the Bucs game last week went, as far as the receivers are concerned, pretty much exactly how I said, although I did think Sterling Shepard would be with more production, but he got injured and he got taken out of the game. Now, he did end up coming back a little later on, but he was injured. So it took a little bit out, and Otton was killing it. So good for him. We all know I like Cade Otton. And like you said, Bucky, Rachaad White, a little more healthy. Bucky Irving, a little less healthy. He's got a toe issue that coach says he's probably going to have for the remainder of the season. He's questionable going into this one. So we'll have to see about him, and it's Monday night. So your fill-ins are maybe Tucker if he's out there, or P. Ryan, or everybody's favorite porn star Carson Steele. Or maybe they activate Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Who knows? But it went pretty much according to plan, or not to plan, but to forecast. I said everybody's going to go crazy over McMillan. McMillan, a 5 guy for your eye. I think it was week 3. I was like, I really like how this guy looks. Nobody picked him up. Everybody got hurt. Everybody picked him up. Everybody picked him up. Everybody spent money on him, spent their number 1 waiver claim. And I said before that even happened, the Tuesday night before it was going to happen, I said, this is what's going to happen. People are going to pick him up. He's not going to do anything this week. People are going to drop him. Guess what? Everybody dropped him. I said that's probably going to happen for 2 weeks. And then after that, Mike Evans is going to come back. Their bye is going to end. Mike Evans is going to come back. That's when you want Jalen McMillan. So we're still a couple weeks away. This Kansas City Chiefs defense is very, very tough. Quietly, easily top 5, if not top 3 in the league. Mahomes is making them look worse because of the mistakes that he's been making. Juju's out of this one, so he had his one flash in the pan. So the same sort of thing. There's been a ton of those this year. It's like, you missed it. Why? Juwan Jennings, Juju, Goddard. There's been a ton of them. It's like, you missed it. Don't go out and go crazy. But anyways, I digress. So, but his schedule is going to get better. And we talked about that last week, Rob, when you and I did this show. I said Mahomes is going to have a great end of the season and remind us all, well, not us all, but anybody drafted him, why they drafted him or why they wanted him. Because he's going to get through the storm. It kind of starts here. The Bucs have a terrible secondary. I think that he's going to just torch them, light them up. Everybody's going to be involved. Kelsey, D-Hop, Worthy, who I haven't even really thought too much of this year because after the week 1, I was like, he touched the ball twice. He scored 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
It's like, don't go too crazy. And since then, people have started to get a little less crazy with him. Well, here he comes, right back in. So I like him this week. Noah Gray, who you liked, who I liked a couple of years ago, you liked a couple of weeks ago. He's continues to get more involved. It's almost like they're like, okay, after this year, it might be the year that Kelsey's going to step down and you are the guy. It sort of seems that way. So Dynasty League, you might want to grab Noah Gray. Just hold on to him. At least do it in week 17 or so. Don't you get any ideas, Rob? But, Baker's looked good. This is going to be his toughest test of the year, I feel.
By far.
I don't think Shepard's playing. Maybe he is.
He's questionable at the last time I saw, but let me take a look.
All right, so I like Shepard if he goes. You got to play K-Dot, and the running back issue is going to be a little – the problem with Rachaad White is he can't break tackles. He can't get over 3 yards of carry. He never has been able to. He couldn't do it last year. Maybe I'm being a little too mean with 3 yards, but he wasn't very what's the word I'm looking for? Productive last year. He just had a ton of touches. And it's sort of shown, but he looked pretty good last week after taking those couple of weeks off, coming off the injury. So they're going to have to utilize all their running backs if Bucky even plays, all 3 of them, I think. They're going to have to use K-Dot and McMillan. This will be a tough one. I believe they're on bye week 10.
Tampa Bay is no, they're week 11.
11, okay. So McMillan, you probably have better options, but he'll be better this week than he was last week. And Trey Palmer, same thing. They're going to need him. They're not going to be able to stop Kansas City. This is the beginning of Mahomes' trajectory towards playing like we think he should.
It might be a little too late for me with my Mahomes, man. I traded for Mahomes in ABG league, and I am 1-7 in that league. Horrible. Everybody loves to put up weeks against me, which is fine. Obviously, fantasy football, but I need to win out every single game and hope that everybody else loses. I don't think that's going to happen. So, all right, let's get to your questions live here. All right, fantasy football Wizard of Odds. What's up, fellas? Would you trade a second-round dynasty pick for Tillman?
I think I would. And a lot, trades, pickups, all this stuff, it's so arbitrary. It depends. What does your dynasty team look like? What is your lineup? But I do think that he is their number one. This is his second year, and I think that he'll continue to be what he's been. So I think next year in his third season, used to be third year was the year wide receivers blow up. Now they're expected to do it in one. I would, because I don't think you're going to get a player of his caliber proven, obviously not, in the second round of a dynasty draft. You'll get somebody maybe with more talent. Maybe somebody will land in maybe even a better position. But I think he's the number one on their team. I think he's big enough, fast enough. And, he had a lot of accolades coming out. He was just sort of blocked in the pecking order, and he's not anymore. So, yeah, I'd be okay with that. Help you win now.
I agree. All right, just ending it with a question. Allen or Cousins?
Both at home. Cousins might have the easier matchup, but Miami really hasn't been good. But I'm going to ride with Allen at home. The rushing yards, he really hasn't even been doing too much of the running. That could happen at home. The fans love it. He likes to give them what they love. So I think I'm going to go with Allen.
I think the vision game plays into it as well with the legs. All right, Chris with the question: Chase Brown, Rico, Madison, or Stevenson?
It would seem that Rico might be a good one, but because I think Atlanta might score enough points to sort of take him out a little bit. It sort of talked about Stevenson, but Tennessee's got a tough defense. Madison's going against the Bengals should be easy, but I do think that Zamir is going to start to get a little more burn, start to get productive. And listen, I talked up Chase Brown. No Zach Moss. You got to play him. It's Chase Brown.
All right. David, the question here: Tracy or Flowers this week? PPR. Good question.
I'm going to go with Tracy. He's going to give you stuff on the ground. He's going to give you stuff through the air. They finally realized that he was a wide receiver in college before he transitioned to a running back his senior year, and started to throw passes to him. Would you believe it? Yeah, after I took him over 1.5 receptions, and they proceeded to give Devin Singletary like 4 and him 0. Thanks. Then after that, they just now his numbers at like 3.5, 4.5. It seems like every single week. It's like, yeah, well, I was ahead of that, but you weren't. Thanks a lot, Dayball. I'm going Tracy.
All right. Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate you, ABG fam. Jeremy, I picked up Sanders in ABG. I'm 3-5 and need a lot of help. Hey, definitely better than 1-7, bud. Keep on rocking. Don't worry. All right. Jeremy with one here. Browns D or Steelers the rest of the season?
The answer is Steelers, but really it's matchup based.
Yeah, I would think you would have to play matchup. If you have room for both of them, I would probably play matchups based off of who they are.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it's defenses aren't and never have been for me like a position player. They're always matchup based for me. Like, even when you think that you have the best defense in the game, like, sure, they could wind up being the top scoring one, but unless it's just like 49ers a couple years ago, because like even the Steelers are not that ridiculous yet at this point. Because the Browns could be, I don't know the schedules. The Browns could play, I don't know, Carolina one week, and the Steelers could play Baltimore. Well, then I'm going to play the Browns.
Yeah, I agree.
If I have both of them, I'm just playing matchups. I'm not dropping one. I'm not giving one to somebody. A lot of times I like to hold 2 or 3 defenses for that very reason.
All right, Tim with the question here. Need one for flex out of B-Rob, or does Waddle finally have his big game?
I don't want to say no with Waddle, but my instinct is B Rob, so I'm just going to go with it. I think the Giants game is going to be a little more offensive. I know that I do feel the same way for the Miami and Buffalo game as well. I just love the chance that if and when they get close, B Rob I've been sort of noticing he's a little bit of a plotter. And I didn't really think that last year. I felt like he had a little more juice to him. And even after he came back from getting shot, it was like, wow, he's got a little juice. And he seems like he's just plodding along. It's almost like Eckler would be a better starter for them. But my ultimate inkling was B Rob. If you like Waddle better, go for it because it's that close for me. 51-49.
All right, Alan, with the question here: Daniels or Knicks this week?
I'm going with Daniels. Alan, you must have joined late. I think that Knicks. I said it. I'll say it again real quickly. 3 out of the last 4 games, he's had cupcake matchups. I like Bo Nix. It was well documented before those last 4 games. Like, I'm starting to like this guy. He was in Answers with Guests halftime adjustments, and now he's gone on his roll since then. But 3 out of the last 4 games, cupcake matchups, and now he's going on the road against Baltimore, against a team that got embarrassed last week. Pretty much. And I think that they're spending this whole week realizing that we need to get after this quarterback. We cannot let him beat us on the ground. And they probably had their most intense week of practice that they've had all season. And I don't like a rookie going into that environment. Baltimore's going to get a pick 6 this week, or at least a fumble recovery for a touchdown. I called it earlier. I'm going with Daniels. He'll have success against the Giants. He did before. Giants will win, but I'm going Daniels.
All right, Alan with another one here. Pittman, Tillman, Irving, Coker. Start 1 wide receiver, 1 flex.
I'm going to go Pittman and Tillman.
I think I'm doing the same just because Irving's banged up. If Irving wasn't banged up, I would probably consider him more for the flex, but I agree with you. Alan with the other one here. Winston, Williams, Carr, or Flacco. Start 1.
See, Carr's going to have it too easy, and I think Taysom Hill is going to have a say in a few things. Gosh. It's like, do I want to say Flacco?
Yeah, bro, do you know what's funny? Is that I'm like, I think Flacco's going to have to keep up with Minnesota, and I think he can.
Yeah.
That Sunday night might be a nice matchup.
It's like I almost want to say Flacco. The only part of me that doesn't want to is I want to go back to the well with Caleb Williams. But you know what? Last week, you were off a little bit. Your wide receivers didn't give a good effort. I'm not going to go back to that when I have an option like Joe Flacco out there. So I'm going Flacco.
All right. Jay Hang with the question here. Stroud or Mahomes rest of the season? I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, Jay Hang. Very early on in the season, before week 1, I said I got a feeling Stroud's going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump this year, and he's going to be overdrafted. I do a weekly countdown on halftime adjustments, which is the show that we do every Tuesday, except for last week because I took it off because I wanted to watch the World Series. And it sort of showed on Thursday night. I mean, he just looked absolutely terrible. Now, granted, the Jets were harassing him, but I mean, even on plays where he was just sort of bootlegging on his own and not really under ridiculous pressure, he was just high. Like, he missed my boy Mechie twice for 2 big touchdowns. This should have been. I just think that it's a little off. Now, when Collins comes back, it's going to help for sure. He might over-target him even. But it really wasn't the receiver's fault on Thursday night. Mahomes' schedule opens up. I'm going Mahomes rest of the season, Jay Hang. I think he has a huge second half.
Alan,
I'm not a Mahomer.
I am a
right. I'm not a Mahomer.
Yeah.
I just his schedule was a little tough. He's been off, and I just think it's going to get a lot better.
All right, Alan, one here. Puka, Tillman, Monty, start one, or would you start Monty over Cook?
Oh my gosh. The rain in Green Bay is going to be tough. Monty scores a touchdown every week. I imagine. It's tough. I really don't want to sit Puka.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's questionable, but like, do you really want to sit Puka after last week? I mean, it would be very McVayian for them to come out this week and just sort of ignore Puka and just hit Cup 1,000 times because he plays the okey doke. He did it to the world last Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago. The Tillman play I kind of like, but I do feel like that game could wind up being a little bit more of a defensive battle. Rob likes it to be more high scoring. Cook could run all over Miami. I think I'm going to go Puka and Monty.
Yeah. Monty does get in the end zone a lot. I think that because of the rain, I like Monty more. I think Cook will be used. I think Cook will be needed. You have seen Ray Davis coming on a little bit. It's so hard to bench Cook, man. I know this. I might go Monty and Cook, to be honest with you. I know that sounds crazy, but with Puka banged up,
fine with that.
Yeah, I would probably go Monty and Cook. Remember to always like, comment, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. All right, Alan, with another one here. Madison, White, or Pollard?
I think I'm going to go White. Give me a little Monday Night Magic. We don't know if Pollard's going to play. Madison's situation's fine, but I can't recommend him for obvious reasons that I document every single show. So I'm going to go with White because they're going to need him. And he'll catch passes.
All right. And Ertz or Otten?
Same reason with Otten.
All right.
Just keep going to the well with Otten.
All right.
Not to.
Starting Irving over Pollard?
You probably have to. Unless you get news in the morning that Pollard is not 100%, but 100% good to go. It's tough. It's tough with their quarterback going against New England. It's very tough, but it's a risk. If he wasn't hurt, I mean, no chance in hell I'd be playing Pollard. But it's just, have they been holding him out just because they know it's either him or Chestnut? And they are in a game at home where they kind of feel like they got to win. And they can win. I probably would say yes. Irving seems a little more healthy than Pollard right now, at least from what they're saying. And just fingers crossed for Monday night.
Be ready to have somebody just in case, too. All right. So would Waddle be a better wide receiver, too, than DJ then? I've been getting burned by Moore. At least Waddle had good reason with Tua being out.
Yeah, it's tough. I just said I got a feeling about DJ Moore. Something was going on. I don't know what it was. Just go back and watch the highlights of all of his targets at the very least. It was like he wasn't trying. And there's a risk of that again. So if you want to go Waddle, I'm fine with that because I do think that Miami will have some success through the air. Buffalo somehow has had, maybe it was DeMar Hamlin getting a job in the secondary. Somehow, dude that never played a snap ever, somehow now he plays all the time for them, and their secondary's been way better than I thought they were going to be. If Tua gets through the game healthy, Waddle will be just fine, and he probably will. I know Buffalo's been the one to knock him out every single time, it seems. But I'm fine with Waddle over DJ. I do have a feeling I was a week early with DJ. Last week, it was just a weird thing with his body language. But you go with Waddle. I'm fine with it. If that's what your gut tells you, I'm fine with it and completely understand. DJ He's burned us a few times.
All right, Jeremy with one here. I need to pick up a running back for week 10 bye. Who seems most droppable? Hawkinson, Ford, or Charbonnet? He is a Chubb and Walker owner.
Well, you probably want to hold Charbonnet if you're a Walker owner. You probably want to hold Ford if you're a Chubb owner. And Hawkinson, stone for hands. How you going to drop him? He just came back this week. Oh, boy. I don't know. I it's probably not the right answer, but I would drop Ford.
Yeah, Ford would probably be my choice too.
I mean,
just because he's going to be out there. I think more people would pick up on a Charbonnet than they would a Ford because of Chubb coming back.
Even though I think Ford will probably get more burn than Charbonnet. Charbonnet is just so valuable if Walker goes out. If Chubb goes out, I feel like they got other options.
Which they've gone to.
In Cleveland, which they've gone to. That's right.
All right. Tim with one here. I'll just do this. Quarterback, Jaden. Running back, Monty. Running back 2, Hunt. Wide receiver 1, AJ. Tight end, Otten. Wide receiver 2, and flex, B-Rob, Bucky, DJ Moore, Waddle, or Bateman. So he needs a wide receiver 2 and a flex.
Well, we just talked about Moore and Waddle. So it's definitely between those two and Bateman for me. I just feel like Baltimore's just going to be all over the place, just murdering defense, offense, special teams, all of the offensive players. Probably even get Deontay involved a little bit. So it's down to I would probably
I'm probably going Moore and Waddle, to be honest. I know Bateman, he's a good choice there, and I think you're right. The Ravens
just needs one, though. Oh, he needs a wide receiver, too.
Wide receiver 2 and a flex.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, let's do that. I kind of want to go B-Rob, but let's do that. And I would go B-Rob if you still don't like DJ Moore. But I got a feeling. I had a feeling last week. It didn't look right. I'm going back to the well with Moore. If you don't want to go Moore, like Rob and I just suggest, then you go B-Rob Waddle.
Yeah, agreed. All right, what's up there, Chaka? Welcome back, bud. Hey, would you trade Jordan Love and Drake London for Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, and Pollard PPR redraft? So Jordan Love and Drake London for Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, and Pollard.
Well, here's the thing. You are going to have to drop somebody because you're getting 3 and giving up 2. So that comes into play. Now, also, you're going to have to drop somebody for a player, Pollard, who might not even play this week. Would I rather have Josh Allen and Amari Cooper over Love and Drake? It's tricky. I would definitely rather have Josh Allen, but I might rather have Drake London than Amari. However, he's just getting started. But Amari plus Pollard, if I need running backs, I could do it. If you got a bum to drop, I'm fine with that.
All right. Not going to start Love due to weather and re-injury risk. So would you would you do that trade or just start Stafford, Caleb, Carr, or Herbert over him?
Oh, I'm starting Stafford.
Yeah, I would start Stafford as well, man.
I don't know if you have all these guys on your team or if they're all available on the waiver wire. But if you're dropping somebody, like maybe the guy you're going to drop to do that trade, just drop them and pick up Stafford. And now you got Drake London. You obviously probably don't need a running back as bad. Pollard might not play. It's a relatively tough matchup. The Patriots are tougher than you think. I'm picking up Stafford and playing him out over all those guys this week anyways.
All right. Jeremy, I think, is adding to his question. He's playing Henry over Hawk, and then he also put here, I have Kittle on my bench and starting Henry. So sounds like he has 3 tight ends in that same league that he was asking about the droppable question.
Yeah, the Henry thing worries me. He either murders it or he does nothing. A couple weeks in a row, he's been okay now. So I'm fine with it. At least you have somebody who doesn't have to shake any rust off and really doesn't have anybody huge to contest with, including a running back. I mean, say whatever you want. Stevenson, he's been fine, but he hasn't been Aaron Jones this year. So I'm fine with Henry over Hawk.
All right. What's up there, frogs? Make sure you subscribe. Ertz, Gesicki, or Taysom Hill this week.
The frogs, were you watching? Have you been here since 9:12? He asked this question. He probably wasn't. I love Taysom Hill this week. No Jamal Williams, no Kendry Miller. Carr's coming back. They're playing against the Panthers. Carr is going to allow them to sustain drives. Everybody knows the Panthers are terrible. Taysom Hill has had a full week of practice for the first time this entire season. And he's yet to have one of his ridiculous Taysom Hill games. And I just can't think of a better recipe than being the backup running back, probably the second best wide receiver, backup quarterback to Derek Carr, who's going to allow this offense to look like they should. And you're going against one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league. I'm putting it out there. I'm playing Taysom Hill, especially over Ertz and Gesicki, yes.
Also, Ladd, D-Hop, or Pittman, PPR.
I'm going to Pittman. Flacco is in. You put your Colt wide receivers in. Pittman.
All right. Chaka says you kind of look and sound like Julian Edelman. That is a compliment, friend.
That's a very compliment. Yeah, I would take that. Thank you, Chaka.
All right. Lucas, the Wise. What's up there, bud? Keep two. Worthy, JSN, Rashad White, and Raheem Mostert. Thanks.
So you got to play two guys this week. Here's what I'm doing, man.
I think he's saying keep two of them, not play. Keep two of them.
I think he wants to keep two of them in his lineup.
Oh, maybe. All right. We'll see.
Maybe I'm not as wise as Lucas. But what I will say is I talked about it. I haven't been a huge fan of it. Worthy. I'm going to his well this week, Monday night. I'm going for the Monday Night Magic. Mahomes is going to remind the world. And I'm going JSN. He's the best wide receiver left on the team. AJ Barner is going to make a splash at tight end. But I'm going JSN. I'm going Worthy. And the other two guys are sharing in relatively difficult matchups. So I'm going Worthy and JSN.
All right, Lucas and Evan, make sure you guys subscribe. Evan with the question here. Pick two, half PPR. In the situation, Pollard is out. He's my running back too. Madison, Wandale, or Julius Chestnut.
God, it makes me want to barf just looking at Julius Chestnut on a fantasy football basement show. Julius Chestnut, it's so gross. I'm going to go Wandale. The Giants are going to win this game. So there's one. And then let's just pray that Pollard plays. But if he doesn't, I'm going Madison. I'm not messing with Julius Chestnut. Even if he winds up having 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns, I'm sorry. I'm just not. He's a big dude, right?
I feel like he is, yeah. All right. On the bench, I have Baker to fill in for Burrow by starting Henry with Kittle on my bench, Browns D, and Eli Moore. I don't think there's any questions in there, but sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to questions from the group. All right. Let me just change some things up. All right. Zay Flowers, play or no? Obviously, with Deontay coming over here, a lot of questions about Zay Flowers.
Not if you have a better option. Again, I think that they're going to be just fine with Deontay Johnson coming in. I think it hurts Deontay Johnson more than it hurts them. The problem is although they've been doing better over the past few weeks, as I had mentioned over the past few weeks, their top 4 is who I'm talking about. Their top 2 tight ends and their top 2 wide receivers, him and Bateman. Them doing better hasn't been awesome. They've had their moments. But I'm fine playing Zay Flowers if I don't have a better option. I gotta know. So, am I playing him if he's the best I have? Yeah. If he's not, no. I don't know what else to do with that, Jason.
All right. Must win here. This is my battle back from a one-win team.
I love it.
Any changes here? Ferg versus O'Doomsday.
Oh, Doomsday.
I don't know how to say his last name.
Odunze.
O'Doomsday. Sorry.
Yes, you got it.
I always add an extra D in there. I feel like should have an extra D in there.
No. What am I looking at here?
So the bottom two. So the bottom two that have the white background are the starters that are currently in. The one on the right-hand side is his bench.
You know what? On rewatch, I talked about how Keenan Allen and DJ Moore looked like lifeless, like they weren't even trying. Odunze did not look that way. He looked like he was giving it his all. Maybe they pepper him. And I do think, Kyler has had games where he sort of goes off with a few of the games that he's had over the past couple of weeks mixed in, a couple stinkers, but they're at home. It's a tough matchup. I actually don't hate Odunze. And I'm looking at his bench guys. I
think I'm going with who you have in, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd keep it.
All right. Scott with another one here. Geez, I'm just off on this show here. All right. I think it's right, but still wondering about Madison, Odunze, and Tolbert. The one that is in white is his starters. The one that is in gray are his bench.
Is this a different team? Did he make
a different team?
Yeah, you went Odunze in one. I'm fine with Mooney in another. You might as well try and keep the good times rolling with Shakir.
I think you have the right lineup in too.
Yeah. Keep it.
All right. Landon with a question here. Need lineup suggestions, please. The ones that are on the left-hand side is his starters, and the one on the right is his bench.
Yeah. I think you're good. I think
you have to stay with what you have.
Yep.
All right. Derek with a question here. I need two, assuming they all play and Puka plays as being reported. Tracy, B-Rob, Pollard, Tillman.
I've been talking up B-Rob throughout the show. I think I'm going to go Tracy Tillman.
Yeah, I probably would do that too. Giants defense is sneaky okay against the run. All right, with Kittle on bye week, my tight end 2 is Likely. Do I drop Likely for Hunter, or is Likely worth holding on to? We get 4 keepers every year, Tony wants to know. I think I'm playing Likely.
Yeah, but the thing is he's got Kittle on bye, and which means he has to play Likely this week.
Or is he going to drop him for Hunter Henry? If he drops him, then he loses him from a keeper perspective.
Unless he gets to pick him back up again. Likely's been giving you constant production, sprinkles in a touchdown or two every couple weeks or every couple games. I honestly, I'm playing Hunter Henry in 1 week this week, 1 league this week. I actually don't like him this week. I don't, for whatever reason. Drake May makes it better, but the Tennessee defense just worries me because they're at home and May is going on the road, and it just worries me with Booty healthy and everybody else just getting a little more healthy. It just worries me. But I think I'd rather play Hunter Henry over Likely this week. So I guess you could do that. And then worst comes to worst, just pick up Likely later in the season. And if you miss out on Likely, just pick up AJ Barner because he's about to be the starter for the lifetime in Seattle after this week.
All right. Tiffany with the question here. Otten, Chubb, J. Will, or Coleman in her flex standard league?
Yeah, it's not Jay Will. I wish it was. I think I'm just going to continue going with Otten. I think some of that coverage is going to start to roll to Coleman. Miami doesn't have much of it. I think it's going to open up some things for Cooper. I'm just going to go to the well, take a little Monday Night Magic, keep Otten in. Just keep going with it. It's hot. Stick with it.
All right. Keith, with the question here, Pierce or Coker if BT Jr. is out?
I think you would have to go Coker because it's just volume. And the Saints secondary hasn't been great. Hopefully Bryce Young get him the ball.
All right. Jeremy with the question here. Is it crazy to consider starting Knicks over Burrow?
This week, yes, because I think that Knicks has had 3 out of the last 4 games have been against cupcakes, and he's going into a hornet's nest. It is going to be very bad for him. I just have a feeling, and I'm a Knicks fan before a lot of people were, and I just don't like the situation he's going into in Baltimore this week. I'm playing Burrow. They're at home. They have to win this game. They're going against the Raiders.
All right. Pick 3, Noah Brown, Addison, Elijah Moore, Hopkins, or Turpin?
I'm gonna go. I almost went Addison, Moore, Hopkins, but then Noah Brown was winking at me. He said, "Dude, come on, man! You were talking me up weeks ago. I caught the Hail Mary."
Noah Brown, Addison, and Hopkins is what's coming to my mind. I'm not mad at playing Elijah Moore, though, just because Judy was banged up this week. I know he's not on the injury report, but I don't know. It's tough. It's between Elijah Moore and Brown for me. I'm playing Addison and Hopkins, though.
I agree. Same exact. So flip a coin, whatever your gut says in the morning.
Remember, guys, the merch is out there. $25 for a t-shirt shipped, as well as $45 for a hoodie shipped. All right.
Yeah, Chestnut is that big dude. He is who I thought he was.
All right.
He was pretty decent last year, if I remember correctly, in a couple of plays that he got in there.
So Jeremy was saying that this had to do with what he was saying before as far as his drops when we were talking about this on the bench. He has Baker, who has a fill-in for Burrow. He's starting Henry with Kittle on his bench, and then Brownsby and Elijah Moore are the other ones that he has that are potential drops from the Ford and Charbonnet and Hawkinson.
Got it.
All right.
Yeah. So Ford
would be the option. All right, Tim with one here. Kent, Ohio, born and raised here. Josh Cribbs, Dean Pease, Julian Edelman, Antonio Gates, James Harrison, and the good old Jack Lambert.
Is Kent State winning a football game or something? Why are we talking about Kent State?
I'm not sure,
but I love it. Props to your hometown.
Can't forget about Nick Saban being a Kent State grad as well.
Yeah, Kent State. Yeah.
All right, go for it, Tim. I like it. Alan says, no crying this week, Jeremy. I guess he's playing him in the ABG League.
Uh-oh.
All
Prepare.
Right. Guess anything else?
No, 5 outlandish things. These 5 things better come true.
He's talking about the Edelman reference. There it is. Boomski.
Okay.
Good call.
Nice.
Good call, Tim.
Okay.
All right, guys. Remember to always follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, get over there on TikTok, X, Patreon, and Spotify. Always look for those hashtags, answers by guest at ABGFF. For me, I am hoping and wishing in our most important league. I had mix and go already, which was okay for me. I need a big game out of DJ Moore. I'm trusting him one more time. Evan should be coming back for me fairly soon. I'm getting a little nervous with DJ Moore. I don't really have a backup other wide receiver. So I was thinking about starting Caleb and him against Arizona because I could feel like that could be a high-scoring game. But I'm still just not 100% sure. Burrow's my other quarterback, so Burrow makes more sense against the Raiders. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of hoping and wishing. I lost last week, and I'm nervous.
I would probably, if I were you, I'd split the difference. If If you feel one way, I'd put Moore in and I'd put Burrow in.
And put Burrow in. All right. Yeah, that's what I currently have in. But guys, best of luck this week. I hope everybody gets a W. You too there, sir. I'll let you finish off.
Yeah, well, Rob, you mentioned it. Chaka, I think you did it before, but the Frogs, Lucas the Wise, Evan Gittleman. Thank you for joining us from YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Please like notifications, all those YouTube things. And if you're on Facebook, join the group. It's a great group of people, family that we had been building for 8 years now. And the more members, the better. It makes us want to be able to continue to do this. So if you want us to continue to do this, we got to continue to grow. Fantasy football side of things, 1-7 at this point.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
2-6, you could still make a run because you could be 8-6. But it's got to start this week. The goal is to get in. You got to be one of those top 6. If you're in a 10-team league, it's probably top 4. But it's not over, but it starts tomorrow.
Don't worry, Landon. Both you and I could be at the bottom of the ABG league, but I let people hang out. All right, guys. Best of luck this week. Inside scoop from outside the box. Answers by guests. Guests, have a great weekend. Everybody have a great weekend. Best of luck.
Peace. Thanks for watching.